On a quiet Sunday in April 1997, a family of 4 was returning home from a religious convention, their journey coming to a simple stop at a rest area, which became a fateful detour. This stop was meant for taking a brief pause before the final stretch of their drive, but within moments, an unassuming encounter unraveled into something far darker. The father, hoping to share his religious beliefs, approached 2 young girls nearby. What began as a friendly conversation grew tense as more individuals, the girls' companions, joined in. It soon became horrifyingly clear to the father that he had made a grave mistake. One of the new arrivals revealed a gun, ordering the family back to their van and taking them hostage. What began as an ordinary stop spiraled into an unimaginable tragedy, shocking the nation and leaving both law enforcement and the community desperate for answers. Who were these strangers, and what motivated their chilling actions that day? This is the horrifying case of the Lillelid family. Vidar Lillelid, born on May 10, 1962, was raised in Bergen, Norway. In 1985, he relocated to the United States, where he eventually met and married Delfina Edith Zelaya. Delfina, born on March 26, 1969, in New Jersey, was a first-generation Honduran American from New York City. The couple met and formed a connection through their shared belief in the Jehovah's Witness faith. Vidar and Delfina had 2 children, Tabitha Lillelid, who was born in 1990, and Peter Lillelid, born in 1995. On April 6, 1997, the Lillelid family were on their way back home from a religious convention. 34-year-old Vidar had decided to pause their journey at a rest stop along Interstate 81 outside Baileyton in rural Greene County, Tennessee, so his wife could take their daughter to the restroom. Meanwhile, he took their son for a walk to soothe him, as the journey had left him irritable. As he did this, he saw and approached 2 teenage girls, Natasha Cornett and Karen Howell, who were also at the rest stop, and began sharing his beliefs as a Jehovah's Witness, offering them a pamphlet. Holding the toddler in his arms, Vidar started the conversation, which was soon joined by 2 other individuals, Joseph Reisner and Jason Bryant. It quickly became clear to Vidar that he had made a grave mistake when Reisner revealed a gun and said, "I hate to do you this way, but we're going to have to take you with us for your van." Witnesses said they saw 6 teenagers talking with the Lillelid family. When Reisner ordered Vidar to return to the family van, Vidar pleaded with the group to spare his family, offering his wallet, keys, and the vehicle instead. Reisner rejected the plea, forcing Vidar to drive while he sat in the passenger seat, holding him at gunpoint. In the back of the van were Bryant, Howell, and Cornett, along with Vidar's wife, 28-year-old Delfina Lillelid, and their children, 6-year-old Tabitha and 2-year-old Peter. Meanwhile, the 2 other individuals, Dean Mullins and Crystal Sturgill, followed closely behind in Reisner's car. To soothe her children, Delfina began singing to them, but Bryant quickly demanded that she stop. Reisner instructed Vidar to drive onto the interstate, take the next exit, and follow a smaller road known as Payne Hollow Lane near Greenville. From there, Vidar was directed onto a rarely used gravel path. Once they reached a remote location, the Lillelid family was forced out of the van and lined up along a ditch, where they were shot. The details of what followed varied significantly among the perpetrators, though the older members of the group consistently placed the blame on Jason Bryant. The group claimed they were still debating whether to release the family when Bryant suddenly opened fire. They also alleged that, upon checking the victims, Bryant realized they were still alive. "They're still alive," he reportedly said, before firing additional shots. A resident in a nearby house heard the gunfire, along with noises resembling children playing, and promptly called the authorities. Police were dispatched to investigate and, around 8:20 p.m. that same evening, they discovered the abandoned vehicle with its headlights still on before coming upon the horrific crime scene. Mullins, driving Reisner's car, got it stuck on a muddy stump, rendering it immobile. The group removed any personal items from the vehicle, stripped off the license plates, and abandoned it with the headlights still on before fleeing in the Lillelid family's van. Leaving the family for dead, the group headed toward New Orleans. Vidar and Delfina were found dead at the scene, but their children, Tabitha and Peter, were still alive. Emergency responders were called immediately, and the children were rushed for medical treatment while authorities launched an investigation into the murders and attempted murders. The search quickly pointed to 6 youths from Pikeville, Kentucky. The youths all came from difficult upbringings, with several struggling with substance abuse. Except for Bryant, all had attended Betsy Lane High School at some point. They had left Pikeville with plans to start fresh in New Orleans, driven by dissatisfaction with their lives in Kentucky and a desire for change at any cost. Early in their journey, they realized Reisner's car was unsuitable for the long trip, and it was too small and unreliable. Armed with a 9mm and a .25 caliber pistol, along with stolen cash from their families, they discussed stealing a vehicle from a parking lot or dealership. However, they ended up at the rest stop, where they saw an opportunity to take a vehicle instead. The group, all from Kentucky, consisted of Natasha Cornett, Dean Mullins, Joseph Reisner, Crystal Sturgill, Jason Bryant, and Karen Howell. 18-year-old Natasha Wallen Cornett, born on January 26, 1979, in Betsy Lane, Kentucky, was the child of an affair and grew up in poverty. She was a well-mannered and capable student until 6th grade, when her grades began to drop. She left school before finishing 9th grade and had no formal work experience aside from babysitting. Cornett began abusing alcohol and drugs such as heroin, ecstasy, and cocaine. At 14, she was arrested for forging checks after stealing a box of them, resulting in a 1-year probation sentence from juvenile court. She was later arrested again for assaulting her mother, Madonna Wallen, and threatening her with a knife, though her mother chose not to press charges. On her 17th birthday, she married Steve Cornett, but the marriage lasted only 10 months. 19-year-old Edward Dean Mullins, born in 1978 in Harold, Kentucky, had dropped out of school in 1996 during his senior year, but was pursuing his GED. Mullins had no prior criminal record and had worked at a grocery store in Pikeville, Kentucky in 1993 and 1994. According to his family and friends, his behavior began to decline after he got involved with Cornett, whom he intended to marry. 20-year-old Joseph Lance Reisner was born on October 13, 1976, in Hazard, Kentucky. He never knew his biological father and had adopted his stepfather's surname. The family initially lived in Columbia, Kentucky, but later moved to Georgia, where Reisner began 4th grade. Described as an average student with a solid work ethic, Reisner's performance took a downturn after his mother and stepfather separated, emotionally affecting him. He and his mother eventually returned to Kentucky, where he developed a history of using marijuana, alcohol, and LSD. Reisner also claimed to have had inappropriate and intimate relationships with 2 of his babysitters when he was 12. Academically, he struggled, failing both 7th and 8th grades, but managed to improve his grades by 10th grade, which he completed at Betsy Lane High School. It was there that he met the others involved, including his girlfriend, Karen Howell. Reisner enlisted in the Army in June 1995, but was discharged after testing positive for marijuana. He earned his GED on May 29, 1996, and began attending Mayo Regional Technology Center in September 1996. Reisner was the oldest member of the group. Crystal Rena Sturgill, born on March 13, 1979, in Harold, Kentucky, was 18 years old at the time of these events. Her mother, Teen Blackburn, had never revealed the identity of her father, and his name was also not listed on her birth certificate. At the time, Sturgill was in her senior year at Betsy Lane High School and also attended Floyd County Technical School in Drift, Kentucky, where she was considered a slightly above-average student. Her academic performance suffered during high school, which she attributed to her struggles with drugs and alcohol. Despite this, she excelled on standardized tests, scoring 28 on the ACT, and had applied to several colleges. As part of a co-op program, Sturgill worked in the daycare at Betsy Lane Elementary School. Her supervisors praised her as a skilled caregiver, and she received high marks for her work. Sturgill had no criminal record, either as a juvenile or an adult, but had been suspended from school on multiple occasions. Those who knew her noted the significant emotional neglect she experienced at home. In December 1996, she accused her stepfather of ongoing sexual assault, prompting her to move in with her aunt in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. Sturgill began attending Prestonsburg High School in January 1997, but soon had to leave her aunt's home. Over the next few months, She lived in around 13 different places, from the time of the allegations in December until the shootings in April. Sturgill was close friends with Mullins and was critical of his relationship with Cornett. Before April 1997, she had no history of violence or criminal activity. Jason Blake Bryant, born on July 18, 1982 in Hellier, Kentucky, was 14 years old and had an IQ of 85, with emotional and social abilities comparable to an 11-year-old. He struggled with alcohol and drug abuse, starting as young as age 3, and was an 8th grade student at Millard High School in Pike County, Kentucky. Bryant had met Cornett in Pikeville just a month before the murders. He was the youngest member of the group and was legally considered a minor at the time. 17-year-old Karen Renee Howell was born on September 25, 1979, in Delaware, Ohio. At the age of 3, her family relocated to Kentucky, where her early years were marked by intense conflict between her parents, who eventually divorced when she was 9. Howell had an IQ of 78, which is considered below average. Howell alleged that she was sexually assaulted by her paternal uncle and a cousin from the ages of 5 to 10, and she later described herself as being afraid of forming relationships. By the age of 13, she had begun hurting herself. She lived with her mother until she turned 14, and their relationship was troubled, often marked by arguments. Howell exhibited rebellious behavior, struggling in school, using illegal substances, running away, and developing an interest in witchcraft, which started with experimenting with a Ouija board and automatic writing. When her mother discovered her involvement in witchcraft, she sought help from ministers, hoping to cast out demons from Howell. Additionally, Howell claimed she had created love spells to attract 2 boys and reported hearing voices,